now turn to Andrew Cayley, who will deliver remarks with the view from the extraordinary chambers in the courts of Cambodia. Andrew.
Thank you very much indeed. If my professional colleagues would forgive me for a moment, because I see there are a number of high school students in the auditorium. The court of which I'm the international co-prosecutor addresses events which took place in Southeast Asia and Cambodia between 1975 and 1979, when there was in place in government in that country a very extreme Maoist Leninist government which sought to bring about drastic social reform of its people and agricultural reform, and I'll go into a bit more detail in this when I talk about the court, but in the process of essentially implementing what were insane policies, they killed 1.8 million of their own people by starvation in respect of about 1 million and the murder of 800,000 people. Now, if you can put that into some kind of perspective, I live in the country, I live in Phnom Penh, where the court is located. There isn't anybody in that country who is unaffected by what happened during those years. Everybody that you speak to has lost relatives. And even people that were actually unborn during that period will talk to you of one or both sides of their family that has many missing members. So just to emphasize the trauma that society has been going through for 30 years, and thus the importance, but not the exclusive importance of these trials. I think there is other work that needs to be done, but it is a society which really is damaged. And when I was told this before I went, having worked in the field for a number of years, I wasn't skeptical, but I needed to see it for myself. And it really is a society with a lot of pain and grief and a lot of psychiatric and psychological problems amongst the people as a result of these times. Now, the court for which I am the international co-prosecutor was first mooted in 1997 when the Cambodian government went to the United Nations and asked for assistance in establishing the court. Now, the actual establishment of the court was a very long and painful process, and indeed we have Ambassador Scheffer, who was one of the principal individuals involved in negotiating the agreement that established the court. I won't go into detail on that, but suffice to say, by June of 2003, an agreement was reached between the United Nations and the Royal Cambodian government upon the establishment of a court. And the structure that was agreed upon is actually unique amongst all of these international and internationalized courts. This particular court is described as an internationalized court. Why? Well, because it is a domestic Cambodian court, like a federal court or a crown court in my country. It's within the Cambodian legal system. It's not an international court like the Rwanda Tribunal or the ICC. Also, uniquely, it's actually based on the French civil law system, not the common law system that we have in the United States or the United Kingdom. One of the principal differences between those two systems is that within the civil law system, the investigation is not carried out by the police or under the supervision of the prosecutor. It's actually carried out by investigating judges. It's a judicially supervised investigation. And that's why the civil law, well, because Cambodia was a French colony. It was part of Indochine Française. They got independence from France in 1953. But when the court was established, it was based on the Cambodian legal system, which had maintained the civil law structures. In essence, the role of the UN within the court is essentially a UN mission bolted onto the side of the court. So the court is staffed by both Cambodians and by internationals. And in essence, the agreement required that each particular role within the court had to have a Cambodian and an international. So I have a Cambodian counterpart, a co-prosecutor. All of the judges have Cambodian counterparts. And in fact, in all of the chambers, Cambodian judges are actually in the majority. So quite a complex structure in which to address these kinds of crimes, but nevertheless one which the Cambodians wanted and a structure to which the UN agreed. You can imagine, first of all, unlike these other courts, one of the particular problems that we have is that we are dealing with crimes that are 30 years old. So we have to deal with all of the problems that come from that. Witnesses whose recollection after 30 years is obviously not as good as it was the week after these events happened, or the months in the months after these events happened. We're fortunate that we have quite a rich document collection. The Khmer Rouge regime were very thorough in keeping records, but a number of those collections or a number of those documents have been destroyed over the years. We don't have all of them, but we certainly have a significant number of documents. Also, many of the victims who have given evidence or who could have died, or people are dying. And indeed, I was sent an SMS last night that a principal victim witness has just had a massive heart attack and is in hospital in Phnom Penh. So these are issues which challenge all of these courts, but for us this is a particularly challenging issue.